They're the Cyberkongs inspired creatures that are taking over the metaverse right now. Let's jump in and check out Kaiju Kings. First up, I want to say if you could hit up that like button, it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Also, there's chapters down below so you can fast forward to the sections that you want to help you navigate the video easier. If you don't want the overview of Kaiju Kings because you know what it is, you can get straight to the pricing if you head to price charts. Let's get into it. So jumping in on the website, what Kaiju Kings is, it's basically a 3,000 item profile picture project, but it's got a token attached to it. So it's got some tokenomics. This has the waste token, which stands for radioactive waste. Now the idea is that when you hold a Kaiju King, you get these waste tokens, which means you can then vote on what the community can do. You can then also use these tokens, as you can see here, to then make a baby Kaiju. Now overall, the art direction, so the website, the style of the artwork, all match in quite well, and there's a very congruent motif about this project and the art. Now what this does lend itself to is it lends itself to a bigger expansion of the IP. So you've got the Genesis Kaijus, and then you've got the baby Kaijus, which then also means that you could then make others later on and they could build on this ecosystem. But what it will also do is it will stop people from flipping as much and try to hold on to it to kind of really build that community. Now what I really like post-launch is they're doing a legendary auction. So they're taking 8 one-of-ones and they're going to be auctioning them off and then using the funds to kind of go into that community treasury, which means that you can then vote on what you want to do with it because you're using the waste token, which is nice to see. And then as you can see here, you got the DAO Foundation, so you can kind of determine what you want to be doing with those funds, and then also with secondary sales, etc. So what you can actually see here is they're really building a big community around this and trying to actually get people to hold on, and not just hold on and flip, but hold on and use this as a way to move forward. I think this is a really good way for projects to move forward, to be auctioning off and holding some legendary ones to kind of send off to kind of kickstart a fund for the community and those secondary sales when moving forward. And they're also going to be developing the Kaiju Kings into a 3D space so you can use them as your avatar in the metaverse. And then when you come down to the team, which is large, it's nice to see they've all got their Twitter accounts so you can kind of see them, follow them here and interact with them here, which is nice. Now jumping on over to their Twitter, we can see here that Kaiju Kings has 20,000 followers and they've only got 13 tweets, which is a little bit strange for a project. Usually you see a lot more posts from them and tweets, but that isn't too bad seeing the success that this has had post-launch. But before launch, this would have obviously been something that would have been flagged for me. Now if we head on over to their OpenSea, we can get a snapshot of the project. Kaiju Kings. They've got the 3,300 items with the 1,800 owners with a floor price of 4.37. And having a look at the buy now price, we can see that it would move quite fast to get up to the 0.5 mark. So it shows that there is some action in this space, but we'll jump into how fast the price floor can move when we jump over into Nansen and have a look at the recent transactions. Speaking of Nansen, let's jump in and have a look. Over the last 24 hours, we can see that Kaiju Kings is in number 6. They've been up here for a fair few days. It's quite hot right now and people are really moving on this project. Now jumping into the individual statistics. Deployed 8 days ago. Scrolling down, we can see the huge volume on the open day. The volume is this green bar, and then this blue line is the average price. And what's really great to see is this average price is staying high. Usually the average price will dip quite a lot after the sale and the hype kind of dies down. This has been out for a week and it's staying quite high. And this can be seen here. The average price rises up and it stays flat, which is really crazy. You could have snagged some bargains in the beginning, especially with this dip around here on the 18th of October. But other than that, it's sitting quite flat, which is great to see. Jumping in and having a look at the individual transactions, we can see a huge amount of notable buys at the start of the sale. And this is very flat in terms of pricing. We can see it here by the white line. It's starting to look like that price floor or average could be sitting around that 3.5 to 4 mark when it comes to Kaiju Kings, which is really great to see. When we jump over and have a look at the top balances, we can see here that number 1 has 150. When we actually jump in and have a look at their wallet, we can see here that they're just holding Kaiju Kings. Now what I find interesting here is when we actually kind of jump through and have a look at what's happening, they've received a lot from this address. There have been some that they've received and sold, but we can see here the main address. So I believe that this holder is actually this address when it comes to Kaiju Kings, and they've just wanted to sort of segregate it into a separate wallet. Jumping back, we can see here that 88 is the second, 50, and then we get down to the 18. In terms of a top 10, this is a very huge spread. Usually we see a bigger clump of people, but the fact that the number one has 150 is insane. And to round out the top 10, they've got 18. So it would be interesting to get more information about this top one. If you know anything about the top holder, drop a comment below because I'd like to get more information about this. Jumping over and having a look at the holders, we can see here that when it comes to unique addresses, it peaked at 1,986 on the first day. It's then dropped off and it looks like it might be flattening out, but we will need to see this last day before we actually get a close and get a correct number. Having a look at the percentage of people only holding one of the NFTs, its kind of peak was around that sort of 74 and now it is at 68, which is quite strong. I like to see that close to that 70 mark, which is this is ticking that box. When we come down to the balance of diamond hands, we can see here that the peak was 3,333, which you would expect on the day, and then it's dropped off to around 2,411. So this is showing that 1 week on, we've got around 2,500 people that are really strong in this project and don't look like they're selling and really want to hold on to it. Now, the next one is the fun one, and that is the profit leaderboard. When we have a look at the top profit taker, we've got 38, then we've got 31, then we kind of drop down to the 15s and the 11s. Now, what makes me bullish on this chart for any Kaiju Kings holder is the fact that this top profit taker, we've got 38 and 31, then it almost cuts in half. So it shows that these people right here, or people close to it that are holding a decent amount, may actually be able to kind of make some decent profits and decent flips on this. But I can see that Kaiju Kings as a project have built in a way that's kind of rewarding the holding and getting people to hold them. So that's why I feel like this profit leaderboard is kind of stacked a little bit at the top, but then it kind of tapers off very, very fast. So very good if you're a holder. You're looking like you're going to be in a good position to make a decent profit down the line. Now, when we have a look at the top 5 buying addresses and some of their entry points, we can kind of get an idea of where they see the value of this project. We can see here that Kaiju Kings, from a 2 ETH mark, that's the lowest, but it's kind of clumping around this sort of 5 ETH mark, which is around here. Scrolling down to the legendary collectors, we can see that they got in a lot at the mint, but then there's a lot of secondary buying at around that 5 ETH mark, which is good to see. Having a look at the smart money, it's quite all over the place, so there's not too much you can actually take away from here because of the spread of this chart. So what these charts are showing is that around that 5 ETH mark is where some of the legendary buyers, some of the smart money, and some of the top holders are in. So you can kind of see where they may exit the market. It also means that they're most likely not going to be selling for a quick flip if it gets to sort of 5.5 or 6 ETH. They may be waiting for it to rise a little bit more. But that's my interpretation of that data. When we have a look at the recent transactions, you're making 10 sales about every 7 hours or so. And over a 24-hour period, there will be 90 to 100 sales of Kaiju Kings. So you can then go in and have a look at the price floor and kind of see how fast and where that could move over a 24-hour period, which looks like it has some strength with how fast the price floor could be moving. So overall, what do I think of Kaiju Kings? I think it's a great project, and the fact that they're kind of doing the legendary auction, they're using the tokenomics to actually kind of do some voting and use that to kind of expand the IP, I think that's really cool. In terms of the price point, if you've gotten into this project and you're holding this project, it looks like it's a good one to ride and hold out. For people trying to enter this project, it looks like it's hit a fairly priced point. So you'd want to see a bit of a dip before an entry point for myself or someone else that's looking at this from the sidelines. Overall, I think they're doing some really interesting things within the NFT space, because when you do look at these charts, the fact that it is sitting so flat when most projects die within a week, this is absolutely crazy. So if you are holding onto it, it's looking like it's a very good hold. So I hope you found value in this video. If you did, please hit the subscribe button. Also drop a comment if you've got any more information about that big holder or anything else about Kaiju Kings. I'm really interested in this project. As always, it's been a pleasure having you with me. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.